Good afternoon, everyone. I would just like to remind you that we are recording these sessions, that you are aware of that. I'm Mrs. Swart, and I'm going to be presenting the second part of our direct and indirect speech. I just want to remind you that at the end, we are going to do a quiz, and that will enable you to see how much you've learned. I'm going to touch on direct speech quickly. I want you to remember that the introductory verb appears before the spoken word. For instance, Jake says, I hope you are well, but it can also appear afterwards. So here we find that sometimes the spoken words appear first and sometimes the spoken words appear afterwards. Then please remember the following. The introductory word could appear in the middle of the sentence. So you could have something like, you had better listen, demanded the teacher, or you will lose the match. And you will see that the second part of the sentence where it's split, when you open the quotation marks, you find that it starts with a small letter or lowercase, whichever you want to call it, and that is called the follow-on sentence. It's just to assist you when you write by yourself. Now, whether I quote a person's exact words or whether I use reported speech, the message must remain the same. It has to still give us the same information. But how do I know whether it is an immediate report back, present tense, or if it's a later report back, a past tense report back? Now, this is where we actually find that the words tell us. We have verbs telling us this is present, that is past. And we find that even our matrics sometimes forget about that, and then they do the wrong sentence because they decide to follow their own heads. So you must remember that the tenses of the introductory verbs will assist us in knowing exactly what to do. It'll tell you whether it's immediate or later. And when I speak of a later report back, when I explain the tense to you, I'm going to go like this, and you will remember a later report back, the tense takes a step into the past. Now, for an immediate report back, remember there are two ways to report back. There's an immediate and a later. An immediate report back, the introductory verbs will be in present tense. It will be says, asks, replies, inquires, exclaims, demands even. And this tells us it's a present tense verb. Then whatever the speaker says, the tense used by the speaker in the sentence that they say, the words that they say, will remain the same. But if it's a later report back, the introductory verbs, words that are said, asked, replied, inquired, exclaimed, demanded, those are past tense verbs. And whatever the speaker says, the words coming from the speaker's mouth, will then take a step into the past. So if they're in present tense, they will go to past. If they're in past tense, then they'll go, we always say they go even further into the past, which is quite interesting. You can't think that that can happen, but it can happen. So let's have a look here. I'm going to give you a few examples. And if we have to carry on with this again in another lesson, we will do that. But let's have a look at this. So Peter says, I'm really happy. Says tells us it's an immediate report back. It's a present tense report back. And I can't say to you, Peter says that I am really happy, because he didn't say that Mrs. Swart is really happy. He said that he was happy. And that is why we have to change. We're going to use the little bridge. The word that is like a bridge. And it tells us Peter says that he is really happy. We've now changed from I, we've changed the pronoun to he. So obviously we have to change the verb to be as well to make sure that it makes sense and that it's correct. So we now know we have two possible methods of reporting back. And you can go back and look at this. It will help you so much if you remember it. So do yourself a favor and make sure you study it. If it so happens that it was Peter said, what will happen then? If it's said, it tells us that the sentence will be, whatever the speaker uses will go into the past tense. So instead of saying, Peter said, I am really happy, that has to go back into the past. It's going to be, Peter said that he was really happy. These are very simplistic sentences, but hopefully they'll assist you. So the changes are the following. No quotation marks, nothing like that. No question marks, no exclamation marks. We use words to describe everything. If it's a capital, it'll change to a small letter unless it's a proper noun. We've looked at this already in the previous lesson. Pronouns will change. We've had Peter where he says I am and changes to he is. Here's another example, a different example here. And it still has to give the same meaning when you actually address the sentence. The introductory word, there's a picture of a bridge so that you remember. It serves as a bridge. Question words, use if you can't spell weather, otherwise you use the wrong weather and then it's a mess. Mother asked if all the debaters were going to Bloemfontein. So you will then have to make sure that you remember that you're using words instead of question marks. Another one is when we have our W words and how, and we use them in the sentence. These question marks, if the first word of a question is a question word, you will use it as a connecting word. When can I get my new tablet? Asked Samantha. Samantha asked when she could get her new tablet. Remember, we looked at the adverbs of place and time that changed in the past tense. That's just to remind you. You can have a look at it again. We looked at what happened with commands. The teacher ordered, and there are two possible ways of stating this. You could use the bridge, that, or you could go straight into your sentence. Your exclamations, things like hooray, ouch, hooray, you will use words with joy instead of saying hooray. Now, with an immediate report back, we've already looked at that. We say the tense used by the speaker remains the same. A later report back, the tense used by the speaker goes a step back into the past. And then when it's already in the past, it goes further back. And you think, how on earth can that happen? Very simply, Peter said, I was really happy. Was is already in the past. So it has to become had been. It goes further into the past. And when you write, if you go like this, your teacher will say, yes, you remembered. You remembered. Okay, and now here's one or two examples quickly before you go over to do the quiz. In the reported speech, where's the diamond he demanded? He demanded to know where the diamond was. She asks, that tells us present, immediate. Whose or who is at the door? She asks or she wants to know who is at the door. So look very carefully. There are always deviations, and there are always things that you can change. So make sure you know that. And then last but not least, please do the quiz. And I will also make sure that I share some sentences with you that you can rewrite in reported speech. I will set up a worksheet for you, and I will attach it and make sure that your teachers get it to print it for you. But yeah, I want you to look at the rules of direct speech and changes that will occur when you convert to reported speech. And I want you to try this quiz. You can always go back and look at your slideshow again. When you studied the slideshow and you go and look, you'll see, wow, now I understand this. And there is your QR code as well. So please go and do this. Try your best, and then I know you will get it right. And good luck. I'm going to share the quiz. The link to the quiz will be shared now in the group. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.